share the light. He'll give you strife. He's Todd. He's tall, he's mean. He's a labeling machine. He's Todd. Rides a motorbike. He'll tell you what it's like. He's Todd. Don't know what he'll say. He'll scare the kids away. He's Todd. He's Todd.
Hey, happy Thursday. Thank you everyone for spending a half an hour with us. We've got a great show today. And thanks again to Dan Cobb, man. It's a catchy tune. I caught my wife, Kelly, singing it the other day, but the lyrics were a little bit different. It was something like, when Todd goes away, Kelly will play, something like that. But anyway, it's a nice catchy tune. Appreciate it. Dan's still waiting on the metal version, so one of these days. Again, thank you very much for joining us. So BS with Todd has been 40 episodes so far of labeling, and this well is dry, right? So I've come to a point to where I just really can't talk about a half an hour of labeling. It's getting very tough to do. And so we're going a different direction where we're inviting some of our industry partners on board and how labeling correlates with that. And so we tried it a couple of weeks ago when we had that launch with AEM, and it worked real well. And so I thought, you know what, since I'm completely out of contact or information, I'm going to kind of shift this a little bit more. Now, what it'll do is it'll give everyone out there insights on some of the new technology, and other partners, will be on board to introducing their products. And actually, when I went to Bixie, I was very successful. I didn't sell a damn thing, but very successful in actually going around and bugging everyone in their booths as far as, the other manufacturers. And I got quite a list lined up for you. So I think that we're continuing with this, but again, we're going in a different direction. So what I wanted to do with our first partner, I want to thank Ironwood Associates out in Arizona. Ironwood is a brother manufacturer representative. Great job out there. But they also represent the line that we're going to talk about today, all right, which is Quanergy. And it's all about LiDAR, and it's an emerging technology within the security segment. And what's going to happen is my special guest, which I'll introduce in a minute, is going to talk about how Quanergy goes to market. And then towards the end, if you stick around, I'm going to talk about asset management and labeling those things. And, my favorite to use is a QR code. And so to satisfy your curiosity, Kate, write that down. Curiosity. In fact, that's going on the next shirt. Speaking of shirts, I got more shirts coming, by the way. Curiosity. So to satisfy your curiosity, I'm going to talk a little bit about asset management and how Brother and Quanergy basically work together. So today's special guest is Gerald Becker. I just found out that Gerald lives up in Temecula, California. I've also lived up there and about 60 other places over the past 2 years. But he's a little bit north of me. And so anyway, we're on the same time zone, which is good. But I want to introduce Gerald Becker with Quanergy. So Kate, can you flip the switch on Gerald? Hi, Gerald.
How you doing, Todd? Thanks for having us today.
Tip top, man. Tip top. Thank you for joining us. So you are my guinea pig, my friend. You are my guinea pig. And so again, with the show kind of shifting in different directions, I want to bring partners on. In this case, Ironwood is one of your reps. We share the same rep. And they were very kind to introduce me to you, Gerald. And I thought, you know what, let's kick this thing off with a bang, because what you offer to your customers is something that, you have to put a label on, and we'll get into that label stuff later on. But one of the things that I want to do is I want to introduce those in the audience that aren't familiar, number one, with LiDAR, but number two, aren't familiar with how Quanergy takes that to the next level. And basically, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. And if you need a Hail Mary at any point, I'll probably be in the background somewhere. It's Bloody Mary time, I think. It's past 10. So go ahead, and if you would, please, the floor is all yours, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
Super. Thanks a lot, Todd. Let me go ahead and share my screen on my side, and I'm going to take everybody who's dialed into the presentation through a series of slides just to explain how we're using LiDAR beyond what everybody's accustomed to knowing LiDAR for, such as autonomous vehicles, robotics, or industrial applications. Quanergy, we're taking quite a few different approaches with LiDAR. LiDAR is a great sensing technology in regards to being able to get accuracy as far as location data, speed, trajectory of moving objects within the field of view, be it people, be it vehicles, or unclassified objects. What I'm going to show you guys today is a completely new way of looking at how LiDAR can be used to understand environments for either security, for consumer engagement, for asset tracking, RTLS, so on and so forth. I have a plethora of different use cases I'm going to try to go ahead and squeeze into this 30-minute window that we have here. But let me go ahead and start off with a little bit of background, and then I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts as far as what LiDAR is and how you guys could potentially take advantage of or even explore with some existing applications or potential problems that you guys are working with. Now, Quanergy in itself, we were founded in 2012. We are pre-IPO, but we did just announce a SPAC merger not too long ago. So we're definitely headed to the publicly traded markets here not too long from now. Now, we have a myriad of different patents as it pertains to our technologies. And we are a global company, so we service all major markets throughout the world. And we have dedicated teams of business development, field application engineering, and support all throughout the world that can assist on pre-sales, post-sales, application opportunities. Now, I'm not going to go too deep on the bottom side of the slide right there, but if you're accustomed to the security markets, to the analytic markets, or to access markets, you may see some familiar names there. We do strategically align with a lot of technology partners to be the front end, the dashboard of what our technologies can do. Now, I'm going to get into the LiDAR 101 here shortly, but I'm going to talk about what our vision is as far as what we're doing with Quanergy. We truly are trying to democratize the use of LiDAR for everyday increase of productivity, efficiency, and safety in our 3D world. And that's truly what we are looking to do with Quanergy and our solutions throughout the world. Now, selfishly, I only cater to the flow management side of the world, which is basically smart cities, smart spaces, and security. We have several team members on my at our company that work in other worlds, such as industrial IoT, mobile robotics, ADAS, and AV. But for the context of this presentation today, I'm going to talk primarily on flow management applications, which is basically tracking for security or guest consumer engagement or tracking for assets or whatever it may be. Now, our sensors can do quite a bit. We have two types of sensors. On the left-hand side, you see our mechanical sensor, which basically is a sensor with a stack of 8 lasers that spin about 5 to 20 hertz per second in circles. In fact, you see one right there behind me. It's about the size of a coffee mug. It comes in indoor, outdoor rated, PoE, non-PoE, IP69K. And what it does is as it spins in circles, it's shooting lasers into an open space. So it does a full 360 with high angular field of view that shoots lasers into an open space. Our solid state, which is the one on the right-hand side, is a great solution for counting pinch point, choke points at retail, data centers, office spaces, to count density or to automate certain processes such as utilities in offices. It's also used for tailgating or man-trap type of applications. People enter and exit properties or venues. I'm going to go into the fun stuff here shortly. So before I get into the videos and the use case of my live system, I'm just going to give you all a quick LiDAR 101. From the perspective of our mechanical sensor, this guy spins at about 5 to 20 hertz per second, really, really fast, and it's shooting lasers into an open space. When the laser hits an object, it bounces back from that object to the laser, and it receives that return. And the laser is able to understand, using time of flight as a unit of measurement, how long it took the laser to hit that object and to come back. When it hits the object, it's creating points, millions and millions of points in a 3D cloud. We call it 3D point cloud. And the analogy that I use all the time, that it's very similar to the Matrix. I'm sure a lot of Matrix fans on the line here today. I'm super happy the new Matrix is coming out soon. But when Neo finally started to see the ones and zeros as they're starting to fall from the sky and sees the digital world for what it is, that's exactly how LiDAR sees. We can't see color. We can't make out ethnicity. We don't know male or female. We see everything in little points and silhouettes of people, kind of like the Matrix, as I alluded to. And we use a thing called perception. Perception is like an analytic to a video camera. Perception is our analytic to a LiDAR sensor. So basically, perception analyzes the LiDAR point cloud to make sense of moving objects, to understand trajectory, location, speed, height, et cetera, et cetera. From there, we can then pass that on to applications such as VMSs or analytics or unique applications. And I've seen quite a bit of unique applications, inclusive of our sensors mounted around the perimeter of a horse racetrack to track as horses are running around to get LiDAR perfect finish instead of picture perfect finish. So we understand exactly where they're at to the centimeter. Very high accurate sensing technology. Now, I do want to highlight on the bottom of that page right there, the most important thing is that we do this preserving personal privacy. So there's no PII that's displayed or captured with our sensors. We just don't know who Jane Doe, John Doe is. We don't capture ethnicity. We don't capture biometric information. But this is where we complement security applications very well, where we have very high degree of accuracy and very wide range at full 360 field of view. If we capture an intrusion, if we track an object, we can then automate the event to action process workflow. So if there's an intruder or if there's a breach, we can then tell PTZ camera to then start zooming in and tracking where that individual is within the environment. We're doing this in data centers to track in very high secure data centers such as government facilities, where people enter, where they're going at a given time. So you get cradle to grave as far as what the potential incident that may occur. So you have that whole chain of custody in that regard. Now, just to encapsulate, once again, we do have mechanical sensors meant for wide open, large area coverage. We have solid state sensors, which are meant for pinch point overhead applications. And then we have our perception software, which is only required for our mechanical series sensors. Now, let me get into some of the fun stuff here so you guys can really start to understand the art of the possible with our sensing technology. But let me show you one last slide before I do that. I'm going to give you a comparison of existing IoT technologies out there. Not going to pick too much on camera, but I will talk against radar in that regard. As far as sensing dimensions, we do see in 3D. So unlike cameras that can only see in front of them, and unlike radar that only sees one dimension, we see in 3D. So we can literally zoom down hallways. We can flip it upside down. We can look at it from different perspectives that you've never been able to see before. As far as range goes, we have a huge amount of range that we can do, up to 200 meters range with our highest sensor. And then as far as being able to detect, track, and classify, we can do about 70 meters of radius that we can actually capture, and then about 140 in diameter of total coverage, where we can track a moving object to understand where they're going at any given time. And you can marry our sensors as well, so you can create a mesh network of LiDAR tracking all throughout an environment. Now, as far as field of view goes, as I mentioned, we do full 360. Other technology will have issues because camera can only see what the optics can see, and radar will only be able to see as much as the radar canopy can see. And most of the time, you're going to have to marry back-to-back several radars, unless you get to a really expensive radar solution that does 360 when it's spinning. We do our own object classifications, I mentioned, with perception. That's one thing that's very unique to Quanergy, is that not only do we manufacture our hardware, but we also develop our perception software for flow management. This is something that really nobody else in the LiDAR industry for 3D technology is doing. They typically will third-party that, which equates to more throats to choke, more pain points, more potential pitfalls and failure points, and stack margin when you really want to offer a turnkey solution to your clients or to solve solutions, you really just want to go to one place that can offer everything in that one house and be able to support you all the way through. Now, one thing that really stands apart with LiDAR is we can work in adverse weather, meaning inclement weather such as rain, fog, and even in dust storms. I mean, we got these deployed in the EMEAs and where we're monitoring oil tank farms. And even when dust storms come in, we can still shoot our lasers throughout. Now, the only way that it will fall behind is in extremely dense fog. And when I mean dense fog is probably about 40 meters out, you will start seeing degradation. But typically, we marry multiple sensors together to get a fusion from one sensor to the other so that you don't have a drop as far as accuracy goes, because there's already another sensor within the field of view to continue the track in that environment. Now, obviously, we've deployed these in very extreme weather environments, such as potentially even cruise lines, where we're doing manned overboard applications in case a cruiser or an employee falls off the side of a boat. Those boats go out to sea, lots of dense fog out there. So typically, we'll put about 5 sensors on each side of the boat to be able to capture potential people falling off the side of the boat. Now, we create our own light, so we don't have issues such as other IoT devices where you have to, be careful with shadows or the sun or different lighting that comes in. Because we create our own light, it does not affect us. We can operate in extremely low light environments, in fact, completely dark, and our sensors can still sense and track objects within the field of view. Now, the only place that we do fall behind is that we just can't read sign, we can't read color, we can't tell Jane Doe, John Doe. But once again, that's where we work really well with our camera partners in that regard. So let's go ahead and prepare this for the fun stuff. So these are some of the markets that Quanergy goes after, and these are some of probably the best markets that I'm dealing with right now. Airports, we've got 20 plus international airports that we're deployed in right now, where we're doing queue management, flow management in that regard, understanding density to get people in and out of the line and get them to their planes so they can take off and get to their respective location. Smart cities, we're deploying this in several smart cities throughout the world. In fact, as of lately, we've been deploying with San Francisco. We're doing several intersections to bring down CO2 emissions, increase traffic flow, pedestrian safety, and obviously collision avoidance to keep accidents at a lower frequency, which is, I'll show you a little bit of a demo there shortly. In retail, we're tracking how guest experiences come into play when people come into retail establishments. Where are they dwelling? What path are they taking? Where are they lingering? And then trying to help retailers to understand for conversion and understand how they can better place ad spend or potential influence to maybe subscription TV or radio spend so they can get people out to the stores based off the knowledge that they capture at the store. Now, the bottom three are probably the biggest ones for us is critical infrastructure, monitoring PID, perimeter intrusion detection, utilities, corporate buildings, automating utility applications such as HVAC, lighting, and understanding the crowd density inside of buildings. Is it really necessary to have 10 buildings when you only have a quarter of them filled at any given time, now at this day and age of COVID? Or is there better ways that we could use our real estate spend across the enterprise so that we really get the money's worth out of our investment there? And last but not least, public venues. We're deploying this in casinos, stadiums, theme parks, anywhere there's outdoor environments where there's heavy, dense buildup of a large congregation of people. And basically, it's used to automate the process flow to get people from one location to the other, such as in stadiums and concession stands, retail locations inside of public venues, lines at theme parks, and the list goes on and on. There's just so much that can be done. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get right into the fun stuff. So first and foremost, this is my LiDAR unit right here in front of me. This is to the side of me. And as I mentioned to you all earlier, my LiDAR sees in 3D. So this is a top-down view of our sensor in my home office. So this is me in front of my home screen. As I wave my hand and wave at the screen right there, you can see me right there. But then I could flip this in 3D. I can move this around in different fields of view. I can move this in different angles. I can do all kinds of different things to look at it from a different perspective that you've never been able to do with any other IoT devices. But with this, you can draw in intrusion zones, exclusion zones, inclusion zones, or whatever it may be to track in an environment. So with that being said, this is what happens behind the scenes. I'm going to start to show you what it looks like in front of a typical dashboard or a use case as far as security and other applications. Now, on the left-hand side, once again, that's our perception software top-down view of people at a conference as they're moving around. And you can see all kinds of people coming out of the trade show. But what's important here is this guy right here who's walking around right here. He breached this yellow square. That's an intrusion zone. Because he breached that zone earlier, it's automatically telling this third-party camera, this PTZ thermal camera, to track him and only him because he meets the criteria of someone who breached an area within the environment. This could be an outdoor venue, this could be a data center, could be critical infrastructure. You pick the application. The use case is to track an intruder in this environment. Now, if somebody else was working with him, maybe an accomplice, you could simply click on another ID and it will shoot the camera over and then start uniquely tracking him and him only. Now, the key thing about this is that we're passing location data directly to the camera from our LiDAR sensor, so it's highly accurate as far as where it's going at any given time. Now, we're doing other cool applications for large environmental counting. This is an outdoor environment in Las Vegas, a very popular street, where this customer of ours was trying to understand how many people come to this venue right here. Say, for instance, they have a concert and they bring in a singer or a band. They want to understand how many people are coming to see those bands or the singers, and based off the information, now they can upsell real estate to either these kiosks or maybe to the restaurants or casinos up and down the strip. Now, if they were going to do this with cameras, it would equate to hundreds of cameras up and down the strip. As you can see, there's varying degrees of lighting. It changes from blue to yellow to green. There's shadows, all kinds of stuff. So you think about something covering this 3-block location. It would take 300 plus cameras, cable, labor, compute, maintenance, installation. It just adds to a lot of cost for this type of implementation. Now, the other option would be turnstiles. If this is not the safest part in town, turnstiles can create a problem where if there's a lot of people, they're all going to bunch up and create a real hazard in that regard. Now, in this particular application, what you'll see is you simply put maybe 6 to 7 sensors up and down the street. And because we are a line of sight technology that sees in 3D, you could stick our sensor over here, over here, over here, over here. Does not matter. Unlike a camera, unlike other cross-line sensors that require directly looking straight down at a virtual line cross, our sensors see in 3D. So you could put these virtual line crosses anywhere to your heart's content. Very high accuracy, about 98% plus accuracy in the most extreme environmentals, as you see right there. Another quick videos. I know we're coming up on time here a little bit, but I do want to highlight a couple other interesting applications. This is something that we're doing in a very famous museum over in Paris, France. This is the Louvre, where we're actually tracking some very priceless artifacts, paintings in this museum. So this was used to track people moving around in this museum. How many people were in there at a given time, but more importantly, tracking these very important paintings, which you see this yellow square, maybe a Van Gogh, maybe the Mona Lisa, or whatever it may be. If anyone breaches that zone, the camera would automatically spin around and start tracking that individual. So we do very high accurate counts, large density. We marry directly with cameras within our system or through a VMS platform, a video management security platform. So we have various ways that can be deployed to use LiDAR. Now, I will talk about some things that go hand in hand with what we'll talk about here shortly with our partners at Brother as far as asset tracking. Now, in data centers, you can see our sensor mounted there. Data centers were able to do airlock type of tracking where we're allowed to only allow one person in, one person out any given time. So as the person badges in, the LiDAR tells that the logic is there's only one person in to open up the interior door and let them in. Then when there's nobody in there, it opens up the exterior door to allow the next person in. But vice versa, the logic is the same. When the person badges out from the interior door and wants to exit, it'll open up the interior door to allow them into the man trap, that airlock environment. And then once that door safely closes behind him, it'll safely allow him to exit out of the property. Now, a couple other applications, from rooftop security, we marry directly with PTZ cameras to offer advanced perception, advanced visibility. So unlike a camera that can only see what's in front of it, if someone tries to climb up the side of a building, jump on a roof, our sensor will be able to capture that and then automate the tracker within a camera to then be able to hone in on who the perpetrator is in that regard. But also from safe cities, I mentioned San Francisco. What we're doing in San Francisco at countless intersections now is monitoring traffic lights. So you see right here from the surveillance system, this is the city's ITS system as far as monitoring the lights. And then this is our perception software. So you can see the vehicle turning left. Once it sees there's no traffic coming this way and that way, it's going to go and turn the light green for this bicyclist to go in and cross the street. So we're doing several things here. We're automating the process for lighting to increase the flow of traffic so that we get less crowding and high peak times throughout the evening. We're increasing the flow of traffic for pedestrian safety in different ways. We're keeping the pedestrians safe so that they're not getting hit by larger vehicles or other vehicles coming through, but even more so, decreasing CO2 emissions, because if you're getting cars home faster and quicker instead of spending time at lights, we're bringing down the emission rates, of course. Now, last but not least, I'm going to touch on critical infrastructure, which will dovetail to how we work hand in hand with Brother and how we can potentially do asset tracking with our devices in these deployments if we decide to talk on any opportunities you guys may have. But this is a PID application, a perimeter intrusion detection application. This is good for critical infrastructure applications in that regard. So what you're seeing here is basically our sensors all around this oil tank refiner right here. And just for reference, you can see these little white spots right here are vehicles. So you can see how we're tracking individuals walking on the side of the fence. But this is where it comes in hand with Todd's products and what we could do together. So our sensors are mounted all around the perimeter right here. But if we could deploy technology married with Brothers asset track tech, we can provide additional layers of understanding. And I'll let Todd hone in a little bit on this, but being able to tag our solutions all throughout the perimeter, inside the properties, together with Brothers Technology, could provide additional value as we start to move forward with this. So Todd, I'll give it to you to talk a few words on that. So
thanks, Gerald. Actually, that's some really cool stuff. I know you and I talked last week sometime, and you gave me a little snippet, but that's some really cool stuff, man. And so I want to appreciate your time here. Now, in regards to labeling, I kind of mentioned it prior as far as asset management. I'm a big fan of QR codes. One of the things about QR codes and the Brother labeling system, or any type of asset management, you don't specifically have to hone in on a QR code. There's many other, there's alphanumeric, but you need a label that's going to last. And you mentioned a couple environments that are harsh environments. You mentioned some, fountains. You mentioned casinos. You mentioned cruise ships, which are out in the salt air. So one of the things I always like to bring up, Gerald, and this right here has been submerged in water for now, Kate, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. In fact, you can see where the water's starting to dissipate. But being the fact that every label we have is laminated, number one, it's going to withstand those harsh environments. So whether or not, let's say your cameras are primarily outdoors, they're indoors as well. But if you have something outdoors, it's going to withstand the heat. It's going to withstand the sun. It's UV resistant. So you want a label that's going to stay on there until you physically remove it, number one. And Brother's a way to go there. Talking about QR codes and asset management, inside of a QR code, if you're using either alpha or numeric, you can put 7,089 characters. There's going to be a test on this at some point. If you're using a combination of alpha and numeric, you can put half of that. So roughly 4,100, 4,200. I was no good at math, but anyway, there's a lot of characters you can put in there. You can put in date of installation. You can put in the contractor. You can put in data maintenance. You can put in all sorts of things inside that asset management. And again, when you're out deploying all of your equipment, Gerald, you have to keep track of that stuff. It's very, very, very important you keep track of that. So Brother, I think, is the perfect combination for what Quanergy brings to the market as far as your indoor and outdoor and harsh environment applications. And so that's why, the synergy here, I think it's a really good collaboration on our part, because again, you're going to have to put the equipment in, but more importantly, and even from, I keep preaching liability. All right. So if you have equipment out in the field From a maintenance standpoint, it's important to label and identify. But even from a liability standpoint, as much information as you can get into some type of asset management label. And again, if you have any questions on QR codes, if you're curious, and Kate mark that down too. All right, that's two. Please reach out to me at any time regarding any labeling or its applications, because again, part of Brother Labeling also includes specific labels for powder coated environments, or even if you wanted to do any imperfect surface. So again, depending upon the application and the equipment being put in the field, Brother has your labeling solution. So again, I think this is a perfect collaborative effort. I can't say that fast 3 times. I want to thank you again, Gerald, for coming on today. Very, very informative presentation. If you missed this presentation, you can always go to bswithtodd.com. I know we're getting a lot of replays out there. So a lot of the people that initially signed up for the show who are not able to make it, you can always go to bswithtodd.com. You can see the replay of the show. Again, very informative. Thanks to Ironwood for bringing you on today, Gerald. I appreciate it. At that, it's 10:29. We're going to go through the closing here. So again, thank you, Gerald. So coming up, all right, labeling and certifying made easy on September 23rd. And then October 7th, we were actually going to do this on the 23rd, but Brother has a new offering out there, and it's a safety labeling. And our competitors have been in this market for quite some time, but you got to see this stuff. It's fantastic. Mr. Dan Cobb actually sent me an envelope full of samples the other day, most of which I can't show on the air. But nonetheless, it got the point across. It's really, really good stuff. So please stay tuned for the next couple of episodes. And again, I've got a litany, a plethora, if you will, of people lined up to do the show as far as our industry partners. So stay tuned for that. And again, the whole idea is, how does Brother Labeling incorporate with these other manufacturers out there? So stay tuned for further episodes, future episodes on that. As far as to contact the team and Gerald's contact. So first and foremost, we got Mr. Gerald Becker. Again, thank you. I know I keep repeating myself on that, but thanks for your time today. So if you want to contact Gerald, if you have any questions on Quanergy or LiDAR, please reach out and contact Gerald, if you will. As far as our contact information, hell, everybody knows me by now, but in case you don't, if it's your first time tuning in, I hail out of Vista, California, and there's my contact information up there. Mr. Jamie Brookover out of Virginia Beach. Mr. Dan Cobb is somewhere in Wisconsin. Mr. Bruce Page, I know you're out there, Bruce. I know you're out there. But Bruce is in Marble Mouth, North Carolina. And Mr. Rob Dawkins, he's also in North Carolina. I think they're only about a mile from each other. And then Mr. Craig Robinson, our glorious leader, hails out of Sarasota, Bradenton area in Florida. So it's 10:32. We've gone over 2 minutes. I appreciate you sticking around for this. Please stay tuned. And again, if you missed any episodes, go to www.bswithtodd.com. Shirts, I'm told they're going to be new shirts, not this one, but a new shirt, are going to be out of the printers pretty time soon. We were hoping to have them in time for Bixie, but all the other shirts went. In fact, I gave mine right off my back. So the stories about a half-naked fat man walking through the aisles of Bixie were absolutely true. Yours truly. So I'll do anything for my customers. So anyway, thank you again. Have a great week. Please stay healthy out there, and we'll see you next show. Thank you.